All right. Well, good morning, dear ones. We are So and this is Tuesday for the 8th day of August in 2017. 8-8, but don't eat too much. All right. So, we have been speaking a great deal lately about the dynamics that are facing your humanity. And we have been talking with great seriousness about the whole energy and the choice that earthly humanity needs to make. That whole dynamic of who is it that you are going to be? Are you going to force your reality to force the dynamic of change? Or will you take the opportunity to transform the dynamics of yourselves and your world still voluntarily without having to be forced into the dynamic? Or will you fall back and fail and um, come back to a dynamic of a more primitive civilization? And all of these things are possible in the dynamics of your world. And we keep saying to you that the choice is yours. And also that in the dynamics of your entire world, some of you will choose each. You may wind up in very different types of realities. So again, you need to decide as a humanity if you're going to go back to the dynamic of fairness or you're going to just simply stick with the dynamic of competition and comparison. Now, we have often said that the dynamics that occur in your consensus reality or in the bigger reflection of your reality are simply a reflection of personal process. And this can be equated, the dynamics of what is going on right now can be equated with the dynamics of an adolescent wounding, where the rug is pulled out from under one, where one crashes and burns. And it seems as if one's entire paradigm will change in a moment. And so we would suggest to you that the incidents that occurred in September, approximately 16 years ago, and we're not going into the specific dates and details because it will be picked up by the algorithms, but to understand that your reality changed that day. And you have been being played emotionally through those dynamics ever since. And so it is also a dynamic that the more time passes after a dynamic, especially a dynamic that the truth is not told. For example, you know those things that occurred in 1963 in November were also a dynamic that um, began to create an energy that was separate from the desire of the populace of America, the United States. And it was at that point that the divergence began. It was at that point that power was coalesced. It was at that time that the incremental journey was made until now. Now, on a spiritual level, understand that this was all purposeful. Those that are in charge of your world, those of you who have that kind of power in your world, thought that it was strictly their dynamic. But in fact, each of these opportunities has been an opportunity for growth for your whole humanity. And your humanity has grown a tremendous amount. All you have to do is look to the past 100 years or so to see how much you have grown. So understand that this has been a process of growth. The United States, in many ways, went through its childhood up until the Civil War, you know, and that whole trauma that happened during that dynamic. And from that trauma, you grew and you became more, and you moved into the industrial age, and you moved and you became more. And you know, people have been seeking to control these dynamics, seeking to control others throughout the whole dynamic of this, let's say, chapter in human history. But now you are at the end of this chapter, and you are being moved from within. You are being moved through a dynamic of caring and connection and compassion. You are growing into a maturity where many of you are beginning to understand that you have been manipulated for many, many years, for many, many centuries, for many, many generations. And again, we say to thee, the manipulation was purposeful. Even it was divinely inspired. Even it, with all of the negativity that has been occurring in your world, because it is negativity that you have been utilizing as a motivation. Even with all of the negativity in your world that has led you to this place where you stand on a bridge to the future, where you stand upon a bridge, one side of the bridge, where the other side is a future. And it's up to you to decide what that future will be. Will it be a future of caring, connection, and compassion? Because once you realize that you are all connected, once you realize that each of you are responsible for the others, as well as yourself, you will begin to understand that an advanced civilization is measured by how well the least of you are doing, not the best. When you begin to allow fairness to take its rightful place in your society again, where you begin to remove the strictures of classism, of race, and you understand that each and every one of you are an aspect of the divine. Each and every one of you are divine beings manifested in physical bodies. Each and every one of you has chosen to be on this journey. This journey where you are now faced with a dynamic after having been traumatized for so many years, and certainly for at least the last 15. And others have been manipulating that trauma for their own ends, not your best ends, but theirs. And you realize that you are growing, and even the dynamic of time and space will create an opportunity to begin to question those things in your reality, especially those things in your reality that you believe without question. So, as you come up into the dynamics and the time of the equinox, as you come up to the eclipse that will be occurring on the 21st day of this month, understand the reflections of those things that really get to you are often reflections of your own dynamic. And if you can come to peace with yourself, then perhaps, dear ones, you can come to peace with your world. We love you all so very, very much. We are SOTU, and this has been SOTUesday for the 8th day of August in 2017. And so until the next time we close, sending you peace, sending you happiness, sending you joy.